On today's show, the Dallas Mavericks get a win against the Chicago Bulls, a complete game for the Mavs. Defense, early offense from Kyrie, and Luka's best game of the year. We'll talk about that and more on today's Locked On Mavs.
I'm Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks podcast.
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
You are Locked On Mavs.
Great, Rusty.
Your daily Dallas Mavericks podcast.
Almost done.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Amazing.
Your team every day.
Still can't even help it.
And welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and NBA channel manager of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Thanks for being an everyday or making Locked On Mavs your first listen today. Subscribe to our free Locked On Mavs newsletter. Check the QR code or the link in the description to continue to make us the #1 newsletter in all of Locked On. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if that first $5 bet wins. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. And joining me from the club as I'm looking into the club from the Great Slightly Biased YouTube channel, the Postgame Prodigy. What you got for me, Slightly Biased?
We needed this just as a country.
You and I. Personally.
The entire country was on just waiting for this Mavs Bulls game.
You think this got a 300 rating? The entire country,
Yeah.
all 300 million people were watching this.
Everyone got off work and was like, I just need to tune into this game.
Just gotta watch Luka. Listen, Lively's out, PJ's out. I gotta see how Luka responds. That's what everyone in America was saying today.
Yep. The talk of the country.
If you're watching on YouTube, or if you're watching on KFAA, or if you're watching on Amazon Fire, if you're watching on YouTube Live, all kinds of places you can watch the show. Between the Mavs lights in the arena right now and Slightly's lights, it looks like I am looking at you. like we are in the same spot.
You're watching this on Stream East.
Some great synergy right here. Today's episode, we're going to get into, it's a blowout game, so you might as well do a role player roundup and go through a bunch of the role players. We got to see Omax for extended minutes. We got to see Markieff Morris. We got to see Kessler Edwards. We got to see a bunch of different guys. We'll start going through them. We'll talk about the Mavs defense. We'll talk about what we saw from them. We'll talk about Luka's great game, but I want to start here, Slightly Biased. I want to start with Kyrie's early offense, because yesterday, Isaac and I did an episode of this very show, Locked On Mavs, that you're listening to right now. Wherever you're listening and watching this, we mentioned all the places, that the Mavs had really struggled in first quarters. That the Mavs offensive rating for the season was 112, which is like, okay, it's like right in the middle, like a little bit above average. But their offensive rating for first quarters was 102, like just brutal. It was the one that stood out among all their other quarters, that they could not get anything going on offense. And yes, it's against the Chicago Bulls. Yes, it's a game where Zach LaVine didn't play and all that, but we were wondering, how do you get some more offense? How do you get going? And the answer to me was Kyrie or Luka. They've just got to be better. They've got to make their shots. Luka was shooting like 35% in first quarters. Kyrie was shooting 38% in first quarters. And in this one, Kyrie was actually the one that got going early. That's not something we've seen very much from Kyrie since he became a Maverick. 6 of 7 from the field in the first quarter, 15 points. He got them out to an early push and a run, got that early offense going, and it kind of propelled them the rest of the way, it felt like.
Yeah, and we kind of talked about if these slow starts continue, what do you do? And then one of the options was Kyrie be a little bit more aggressive early in games, and that sort of set the tone for the offense. So that's what you saw tonight. Luka, I don't even know when in the game Luka took his first shot. It was a catch and shoot 3 at that. It wasn't even like a possession where he had the ball a bunch. It was a catch and shoot opportunity.
They spread it around.
Yeah, they were moving the ball around. I'm trying to see how many. Kyrie's averaging 4 field goal attempts per game in the first quarter of games so far this season. And tonight he had 7 and 2 threes. So that got the ball rolling. I mean, just kind of a hilarious patented Kyrie game where 15 points in the first quarter. I mean, some of the shots he was hitting, I was thinking to myself, oh, this could be like a huge scoring night for Kyrie.
Yeah.
Like 40, 50 points we're talking. And he goes on to take, I want to say 3, maybe 4 shots the rest of the game. Granted, he doesn't play
7?
He doesn't play in the fourth quarter, but
yeah, he took 7 and he finished with 11. So yeah, classic Kyrie game where he just goes off early and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, where'd Kyrie go? Oh, they didn't need him. And that's the thing about Kyrie that I have loved since he's become a Maverick is a lot of players say, I don't need to get my points. I don't need to get my shots. I don't need to get this. And none of them mean it. But I think Kyrie does. And I think he really does want to give the Mavericks what they need. And he's willing to, all right, I'll go off when you guys need me to go off. They needed him to go off a lot last year at different quarters. But they needed him early offense. You could tell that was an issue. We were all talking about it. We talked about it on how many post games did we do slightly where we were just got out to another slow start. And Kyrie came out. He took that. And, the Mavs were able to take advantage of it. Even without Dereck Lively didn't play in this game, without P.J. Washington in the starting lineup, Maxey and Exum still out. And so they're missing half a rotation, basically, for this game. But Kyrie gets him started with early offense. And it kind of did feel like he took it upon himself and looked around and looked at the landscape. It was like, all right, if you're going to put Josh Giddey on me, if you're going to put, Kobe White on me on possessions and not Ayo Dosunmu or Patrick Williams or one of the other good ones, I'm just going to take him off the dribble. I'm just going to beat you to a spot. I'm just going to pull up. I'm going to go to the paint and I'm going to pull up for a jumper. It just felt like Kyrie really took this and decided I'm going to give us what we need right now, because I think that's the type of player he is.
Yeah, and it kind of reminded me of that Magic game where Luka comes out, no Paolo. Luka comes out in the first quarter and pops off, and then the Magic just weren't going to have the horses to come back from that. Kind of similar here. Kyrie pops off in the first quarter, and the game just felt over immediately. That's just a game the Mavericks needed. They got a tough schedule coming up. We were calling this a get-right game. But the way the Bulls play, the way they played so far this season, historically is a style that would give the Mavericks some trouble. So it was nice for them to just come out the gates, guns a-blazing. Luka, you could just tell that Luka's kind of been forcing some stuff in the first quarter of games so far this season. So Luka comes out. It's more of a facilitator role early on. And let's, some other guys cook. They were going to Klay early and often in this game.
Yeah,
he
they were.
You could tell. It was in very early, definitely a game plan for them was to get Klay going. And Kyrie popped off. And, it was just, you knew that the game was over right then and there.
Our friend Clint texted me before the game and said, I'm calling it. He's like, it's the Naji game. And I was like, all right, I'll call it too. It's the Klay game. And then he missed his first 3 shots. And I was like, can I take that one back? Can I have that one back? But they were trying to get him early and often, and it's because you have Giddey and you have you have Kobe White on the other side, and so they're playing a little bit. They play a little bit smaller. They don't have except for Vooch, they don't really have a lot of bigs. They have kind of some smaller guards, and so you're stretching them out. You're trying to get them in in bad situations and one-on-one coverage and things like that, and they couldn't send multiple defenders like they wanted to, the early offense from Kyrie, I thought, really set the tone. It was great. It was great to see Kyrie give him that. And then Luka kind of took over from there. Luka played a really, really good game in this one. 27 points, 13 assists, and missed some shots. He was 8 of 19 from the field, but I think some of that was self-inflicted a little bit. But it was one of Luka's best games of the season.
It was his best game because what was it, 8 of 19? That number is not very representative of his game because he went 0 of 5 in the fourth quarter. He is the worst stat pattern in the league.
There was a meme recently from one of those nameless, faceless Thunder accounts where they're like, Luka, the crybaby, Luka is all this, and I'm like, hold on. There are many things that Luka is, and we can say the many things that Luka is. And one of them was stat pattern. I was like, he is a terrible stat pattern. Really. This season alone, I think he's had 3 games of 8 assists. He's had 2 games of 9 rebounds. He had a game where he scored 15 points. You're like, all right, if he could stat pad a little bit better, then that would boost some of these MVP numbers.
Yes, that Luka's stat pattern performance was rough in this one. But I'll tell you what will help his MVP numbers, though. He had an absurd plus 35 in this game.
It's crazy.
Plus 35. Those are the advanced metrics, the kitchen sinks, the VORPs, all of those that are going to really help him out.
I love that plus minus is an advanced stat when it's literally just the subtraction. It's just addition and subtraction.
No, I know, but that's what these advanced metrics are pretty much entirely built on, are on-off numbers.
PEMDAS.
Plus minus. Yeah, basically.
It's all order of operations and all that. But, yeah, Luka, you mentioned it, plus 35 in a team high, and he was dominant in this game. We'll talk about how Luka was able to be dominant in this game. We'll talk about the Mavs defense and how they were able to force a bunch of turnovers and get out in transition. Some really fun stuff in this game. Talk about that and more coming up.
You don't believe you shouldn't be here.
Today's episode of Locked On Mavs brought to you by Skims, a new one. Skims, you've heard of them before, I know, because they've had a bunch of commercials during the NBA. They've been doing a great job reaching out to us NBA fans. But Skims, I got some Skims underwear, and I really like them. And I love the boxer briefs because they stay the shape that you want. Like they shape well, and then they stay, but they also breathe, and they allow you to move and be comfortable. And I love the Skims underwear that we got. Absolutely love what they get. You can get all kinds of different Skims. You can get cotton briefs, you can get boxer briefs, you can get stretch briefs, all kinds of different things, different size inseams. You can get all kinds of different things with Skim. It's all they're doing with their menswear line right now. Go check out Skims Men's at skims.com, SKIMS.com. Let them know that we sent you. After you place your order, select podcast in the survey, select our show in the drop-down menu that follows. Check out the Skims underwear. And if you're looking for the perfect holiday gift for the whole family, Skims just launched their biggest holiday shop ever, also available at skims.com. So if you're buying for yourself, or if you're buying for somebody else, make sure you go to the survey and put podcast, skims.com. Check that out. Check out those underwear. Believe me.
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
Thanks, everybody, for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs, being part of the show, part of the Raccoon Squad, listening every day. Appreciate each and every one of you for checking out the show. Check out the QR code if you're watching this for different ways that you can subscribe to our newsletter. You can subscribe to our Locked On Mavs Insiders program where you can get text straight to your phone. I sent texts all throughout the day about the Mavs game today, sent notes at halftime, post-game, all that. So subscribe to Locked On Mavs, get text straight to your phone. That helps support the show, and Isaac and I can do more and more with that. All right, Slightly. We're talking about this game. Luka Doncic, 27 points, 13 assists, 7 rebounds, 4 steals, plus 35. And in the first half of this game, I had to note that the Mavs would take Luka out. The Mavs would build up a lead. They took Luka out in the first quarter, and then the Bulls would go on a 10-3 run. And then in the second quarter, the Mavs would build up a lead. Then the Mavs would take Luka out, and then the Bulls went on a 9-0 run. It was 2 runs in a row, and that's what really propelled his plus-minus, I think, is because they were really struggling when he wasn't in. But it also proved how much he was dominating while he was in the game.
Yeah, because it was just this. The playmaking Luka is my favorite type of Luka, and that's what we saw tonight, where it was, just creating for others and beating guys off the dribble and getting into the paint, kicking out from there, drawing double teams, kicking out from there, lobs. We saw a couple of lobs, getting out in transition, hit-ahead passes. Like, it was the full Luka passing bag on display. And this is the type of matchup. Like, this is not a good Chicago Bulls basketball team. So, it's one of these. I don't know how many takeaways.
Better than some people thought.
Better than some people thought, sure. But without Zach LaVine and stuff. Well, the reason why they've been in games is because they shoot so many threes.
And they play
fast,
so
they shoot
fast.
So many threes. So just because of that, they're going to be in games and beat teams they're probably not supposed to beat from time to time. But yeah, I love Luka's playmaking in this game. I thought he just let the game come to him. Didn't try to force too many shots.
Yeah.
Didn't try to force anything. And it led to a great game. Now, granted, this is like Vucevic is a slow-footed center. They don't really have a lot of athletic guards or great defenders. So this is the type of game where Luka really dominates playmaking-wise. And yeah, it was a great performance.
Especially if your best perimeter defender, or at least the best bigger perimeter defender, gets absolutely demolished on a drive. Like, one of Luka's most disrespectful plays I've ever seen, where he's driving on the left wing. Patrick Williams stumbles backwards, and Luka just stops flat-footed, doesn't even jump or anything, and just flat-footed hits a layup on the left side of the backboard. And I was cracking up because he didn't have to do all that. It's almost more disrespectful that he didn't jump, that he was just standing there flat-footed.
I thought he was throwing a lob at first.
I thought he was doing.
That is now Luka's second flat-footed bucket of the season. One of them was after he hurt himself.
He had one against Ant.
The
one in transition.
The Luka Boo-Boo against the Timberwolves. But this one was just hilarious, man. Hilarious player.
He also had. It was ruined, but maybe the highlight of the year was going to be the highlight of the year, where he steals a pass. He steals it with his left hand, taps the ball between Giddey's legs with his right hand, then runs out in transition and throws it up to Naji, and Naji just gets absolutely stuffed by the rim. Couldn't get it over. That would have been. It reminded me of the play where Luka dove on the floor, like the most watched play of the NBA last year, where Luka dove on the floor, he threw it up, and Kyrie then threw it up to Dereck. Like, it felt like that type of boom, 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 boom play, but it was ruined.
I saw a funny comment. Somebody said, Naji Marshall is not Derrick Jones Jr. in all the great ways and all the bad ways. And that's that play right there where it's not, he's not the explosive athlete Derrick Jones Jr. And Luka will learn that. Sometimes Luka puts guys in terror. Sometimes Luka's just like, I'm throwing you a lob. And we're really going to learn a lot about you
What game was it? Like, was it like 2 games ago? He tried to throw that lob to Kyrie in transition.
Yeah.
You're like, what? Like,
Yeah.
okay, there's only certain distances we can throw these lobs to Kyrie at this point. He's only 6'2", Luka. But yeah, playmaking Luka is one of my favorites too, and it means that he's trying to get other guys involved, and he can get his own shot whenever. That's the thing about Luka is, he when people get frustrated with Luka, they say, oh, he's treating that first quarter like his own personal shoot-around, basically, just to get himself going. And then all of a sudden, everybody's cold for a whole quarter. Sometimes it works and everything falls into place because the defense then collapses on him, and then it creates more. But, I mean, Luka can find ways to win in a bunch of different ways. Gets his offense first, sets everybody up first. It just depends on the game plan and what they want to do in that one.
Yeah, I mean, I like this brand a little bit more just because I think him playmaking and being a creator also opens up his scoring game, and I think that gets him in a rhythm too. So we'll see what this means moving forward. I mean, like I said, this could be just one of these games where they played a bad Bulls team and just came out fire, and the game was over immediately. And
Well,
just not take away from it.
Well, and give them credit for responding after that Pacers game. That was so brutal. Another team that plays fast too, and they responded really well against the team that plays fast after playing a team that plays fast against the Pacers not very well and getting destroyed there. Their defense, the Mavs defense, you got to give them credit. They held the Bulls to a 93 offensive rating, which is absolutely terrible. 6th percentile. That's bad. That's the lowest. Bulls couldn't hit a lot of shots, but the Mavs also forced them into shots that they don't want to take. They allowed Ayo Dosunmu to be the one that was open when they tried to play the 5-out offense with Vooch stand on the 3-point line, the Bulls center. And so Ayo Dosunmu was the one that was left open. He started the game 0 of 8 from 3. They allowed Giddey to be open too. They've got a lot of experience letting Giddey be open on the 3-point line from the playoffs last year. Mm-hmm. And since those shots weren't going down, the Mavs defense was able to create a lot of turnovers off of that. Yeah,
we've like if the 5-out teams that are like truly 5-out. The Bulls try to play a 5-out, but if you have weaknesses in guys who can't shoot, the Mavs will pick you apart defensively because they'll sag off of them. They had I found this interesting. Like Luka was picking up Vucevic, and they had Gafford on Giddey or Ayo or one of those two guys, and just had him roaming around in the paint. And the Bulls just could not get anything going. And like you said, the Mavs just basically said, Ayo Dosunmu, beat us from 3. Josh Giddey, beat us from 3. And if you do, we'll adjust from there. But those guys, fortunately for the Mavs, I mean, you're going to look at like their offensive rebounding numbers and be maybe a little bit disappointed. I'm telling you right now, the Bulls were such a brick factory in this game that I don't think it's like an indictment on the Mavericks.
Because there's so many long rebounds. They missed 30. Exactly. They missed 33s. That's a lot of long rebounds that just and they also had multiple plays where they got multiple rebounds in a row and out to them. So that's probably 5 or 6 of them. Yeah, easily. That's why I'm trying to remember. There was a game recently where the second chance points just demolished the Mavericks, and we were upset about that. But was that against the Rockets? It was against the Rockets. That one was frustrating because they gave up some rebounds they shouldn't have given up. This one was just like Ayo Dosunmu just shot a 3 off the shot clock, and it bounced to half court, and Josh Giddey has it now. So and it was 14-9. It wasn't like 20 or what was that game last? Wasn't there a game last year the Mavs allowed like 25 offensive rebounds or something insane? I can remember that. I remember there was a game against the Raptors early in the year. That was brutal, but I don't know if that was the rebounding game. Oh my gosh! But the Mavs forced a bunch of turnovers, 23 turnovers. The Mavs scored 28 points off of turnovers. I thought that was notable. The Bulls only got 13. There's a lot of stuff out in transition. Felt like that whole quarter in the third quarter they was spent out in transition. Naji to Klay, Klay back to Naji. Luka tried to Naji. There's just a bunch of run and gun. A lot of really nice plays. There was a play I saw our friend Ben Rogers shared this play of Luka bringing up the ball, and then everybody touched it, and then it went to Gafford for a dunk. They just got a bunch of ball movement, and the team they just need some more time they needed some more time to gel. And a game like this, we wanted it to be a get right game, and there's plays like that I think help them get right. Yeah, and I just when they get out in transition and Naji's on the floor, there's that group of 4 where it's Luka, Kyrie, Klay, and Naji is fun. That's a fun group. It is. And I would love for them to figure out ways for that group to be viable. And I think that could be like PJ, small ball 5. I really do think that we're going to see a good amount of those lineups because I think those 4 are really good together. And we might see a lot more small ball 5 than maybe we were expecting this year because of that. Wow. You go into a season thinking, all right, the best center rotation the Mavs have had since 2011, and then now we're 8 games in the season going, you know what, they might play small this year.
It's just versatility. It's having a bunch of different ways to win basketball games. There's nothing wrong with it.
Nope, there's not. And it's honestly, I was telling I was texting the Locked On Mavs subtext subscribers that they need a bunch of different ways to win. And so I think they need to run some of these small ball lineups a little bit more. I don't think they didn't run a ton of them tonight that I can remember.
No, but with PJ out, Naji's playing the 4.
PJ was out, so that becomes a little bit more difficult. I think PJ allows them to play those smaller lineups. I don't know that there's anybody else. Omax wasn't able to replace that in this game tonight, but yeah, they can play a couple different ways. Maxey out, that kind of hurts them in order to do that.
Yeah, for sure.
But defensively, Gafford, you got to give Gafford credit too. You mentioned earlier how he was able to play off some of those guys. He had 3 blocks in the paint. I thought that he was really good defensively in this one. Didn't allow a lot in the paint, and that really helped him.
These are the matchups where Gafford looks really good defensively.
Huge.
When he could just pretty much park in the paint, and that's what he was able to do tonight. And he is such a great rim deterrence that the Mavs defense is always going to look really good in matchups like these, where they can sag off of guys and not have to worry about certain guys shooting.
Absolutely.
I wonder, we got the Suns on Friday. Like, are we going to see? Well, I guess it's a little bit different, huh? Because Nurkic would be the guy that you're okay with shooting threes. I was
definitely because he was killing him in the paint. He was killing him in the paint last time they played.
Yeah. I'm gonna be interested to see if the Mavs bigs are more ready to go for that game, or if assuming PJ is back and healthy. I have no idea what's going on.
That is interesting.
If PJ's back and healthy, if they lean on that small ball a little bit.
That Suns game will be a really good test for the Mavericks, and we'll see how they look, and we'll be here for you. We'll have a post-game show on that. Coming up, let's get into the role players. We saw a bunch of different guys. My guy Grimes, Omax. We saw a bunch of guys like that. Let's get into some of those guys and what they brought to the table coming up.
I don't believe you shouldn't be here.
Today's episode of Locked On Mavs brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel Sportsbook has all kinds of props and odds, things that you can use to get in on the action. Go check out FanDuel, see what is available. They got NBA odds all the time. Go check them out and see what is available for you. The NBA Finals odds. Mavs plus 1,000, sticking where they are right now. Celtics plus 250. I feel like that went up recently. I feel like the Celtics are getting worse odds or better odds, I guess, whatever you look at it. Timberwolves plus 1,100, Nuggets plus 1,500, Suns plus 1,500. They're flying up there. The Suns and the Nuggets. If you would have told me at the beginning of the season the Suns and the Nuggets will have the same odds to win the finals, I would not have guessed that at a certain point. Check out America's #1 sportsbook. It's FanDuel, and when new customers place a $5 bet, you can get $150 in bonus bets when your first bet wins. Go check that out. FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NFL.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
All right, slightly, we're talking about the Mavs versus the Bulls. Mavs get the win. The dub. 5-3 on the season. Definitely needed it. To go 4-4 and then be up against the Suns and this schedule that's coming up would be brutal. that would be a problem.
Just needed a wire to wire. Like, all right.
If
they had won this game by like 2 points and it was, they're clawing their way out of a 23-point deficit in the second quarter, like that would have not felt good, I don't think.
Mavs built a 30-point lead in this one, which was awesome. We saw a bunch of role players. I want to go through them because we got to see a bunch of different guys. We kind of talked about Gafford already. We talked about Naji Marshall already. Klay Thompson, he got his shot going a little bit early, but finished with 13 points, 3 of 7 from 3, 6 rebounds, had an assist. Got out there, just a solid Klay game, it felt like to me. We've had either good Klay games or not so good Klay shooting games, and this one just felt like a right in the middle, solid, like good Klay game.
Yeah, and again, they the first few possessions, it felt like it was a point to try and get Klay going.
Yeah.
So that's been something that's been talked about quite a bit, is getting Klay more shots in the first quarter to get him going. And yeah, I thought he played just a perfectly fine game. Nothing more, nothing less from Klay Thompson.
I'm good with that.
Yeah. Perfectly fine.
I'm okay with it. Omax. He's on Omax for almost 20 minutes in this game. 6 points, a rebound, a couple of fouls for Omax. He was running around. I thought he played some good defense at times. He's still just flying all around the court at times, playing frantic, going up. He got completely blocked by Taylor Horton-Tucker on that one that they called it, that one in transition they called the jump ball. Man, I just wish Omax looked a little bit more ready, but we saw him for extended time in this one, and he can play in a game like this, but in a game like against the Suns or another more competitive team, I don't know that you can play him yet.
No, he's not ready.
Sad.
That's it.
That's all you got on Omax?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, well, I don't want to I just don't think he's ready.
The contrast between you and Isaac while talking about Omax.
I mean, in theory, it would be awesome, but he's just not ready. He's not. If something were to happen where it's like Omax is going to have to play 20 to 30 minutes a night, the Mavericks would have to make a roster move immediately.
Man, that's tough. Omax.
That's just the truth. I mean, that is
it's true. It is true.
I'm not trying to be harsh on him or anything like that.
That's one of my guy. Speaking of my guy, Quentin Grimes. Let's go. Quentin Grimes, 15 minutes in this one, hit a 3, hit a couple other shots, had 6 rebounds and a couple of assists. He also pushed the Mavericks to 5-0 when he plays over 12 minutes slightly.
Oh,
that's
interesting.
Let's go.
That makes you feel good, huh?
It does. It does. I was really big on Quentin Grimes all summer. And
now, to be fair, all 7 of his points for the fourth quarter. Did that change anything for you?
No, they were all important. They needed every single one of them, and I stand by everything I said this summer.
I do like I'm ready for more Quentin Grimes minutes. So any positives out of him, I'm like, okay, all right.
I definitely would rather take more Quentin Grimes minutes than seeing any of a Hardy Dinwiddie combined lineup that we saw earlier in this game. That does not work. I don't think. Even against this
I had
Bulls
some
team.
people chatting like, what is this lineup? What is this lineup? I'm like, they are without 4 rotational players.
Yeah.
Especially the game felt out of hand almost the moment it started. Like they're going to experiment and throw some guys out there. It's not going to look good.
I like that kid experiments, especially early in the season like this. You just want to see different things. I wish he would have experimented a little more last year, and maybe they would have found some more things, especially small. But Kyrie, Dinwiddie, Grimes, Omax, Dwight, that was a lineup at the end of the fourth quarter. Luka, Hardy, Dinwiddie, Klay, Gafford. Klay at the 4 was the beginning of the second quarter. That was the beginning of the second quarter. Kyrie, Dinwiddie, Klay, Omax, Dwight. Again, there's just a bunch of random lineups in this one that I thought were notable. But yeah, anything with Hardy and Dinwiddie together, I just put Grimes in there instead. That's what I'd rather do.
Luka being as big as he is allows you to do stuff like that because he can play the 4 or guard slower footed 5s. In lineups like that, which is what he did tonight. And also, Spencer Dinwiddie tonight. You guys know I said in the offseason I wasn't the biggest, I wouldn't say supporter. I literally predicted the Mavericks would sign Spencer Dinwiddie, but I just thought that he wasn't going to get that much PT. His numbers tonight aren't the best, but I didn't think he was horrible though. I just
one of 8 from the field, 0 of 6 from 3.
Yes, all of that's bad. His threes look terrible right now. I don't know what's going on there. They're not close, but he is a connective playmaker that the Mavs have missed at times, at the end of their bench in a crunch.
They desperately needed last year one more player that could handle the ball. Just handle. Honestly, just handle, which is why I was so excited when they signed Dinwiddie and why I wanted Dinwiddie over Dennis Smith Jr. even. They just needed somebody else that can credibly dribble the ball even. That sounds so stupid, but they just needed somebody with that one skill. Absolutely. And then every once in a while he'll hit a 3 and then they can be big. 0 of 6 from 3, that's a tough one. That is tough. That's a tough one to be.
He'll have to make buckets to play a bunch, but
right. I mean, the more he plays though, the more I look at Dante Exum's injury and are like, hey man, I think your spot is cool. When you come back.
Oh, for sure. I don't think Spencer or Hardy have done anything to, assuming Exum comes back and looks good, because who knows? But
it is, it's wrist surgery. It's January. We're 2 months away, so from even seeing reports or anything on him.
Yeah,
on that. We got to see our first minutes of Markieff Morris, Kessler Edwards, Brandon Williams came back, JC and Gortman. Kid cleared the bench fully in this one. That's when a win feels good. When people in the AAC are leaving early with 5 minutes left, when it's a win, you're like, okay, this is a good one.
The human victory cigars. How'd you think those guys looked?
My back turned to them.
I'm asking you because I did not watch. I was tuned into other games. I was hoping you weren't gonna.
I was setting up this stuff. I was setting up. Now, did Kessler Edwards? Tell me about Kessler. There's one drive.
my guy is talking today. Was like, where has Kessler Edwards been? And I'm like, did his talk think Kessler Edwards is going to be a rotation guy?
He was injured and missed all of preseason. It's not like a crazy question. I mean, it's kind of it's not like he's just been sitting at the end of the bench doing nothing.
I could see
he's been hurt.
Like, Kessler Edwards taps into some of the stuff he showed early in his career. Maybe.
He played a bunch of games and started games for the Kings.
Yeah.
And the Nets.
Maybe. I thought Dwight Powell actually. I'll be honest with you. I've liked Dwight Powell's minutes when he's been in the rotation.
This has always been the thing with Dwight Powell. Always, if he's the third string center, it's awesome.
Yep.
It's exactly what you need. Fill in as a backup center every once in a while. You're like, okay, but you don't have to rely on him. He just got thrust as the starting center for so many years and drew the ire of so many Mavs fans. He also got hit in the face twice. We need to count more, and we need to count.
There's a guy on Twitter who tracks all of it.
But we need to count per minute. is what we need to count.
It is insane how often he gets hit in the face.
Vooch hit him really bad. Right
that was a flagrant for sure. I didn't think that was like a super dirty play or anything like that, but definitely a flagrant.
Just swiped down right over his face. Brutal. Let us know in the comment section on YouTube what you thought about this game. All right, that's it for us on Locked On Mavs. If you're watching on KFAA or any of those other places, check the QR code for a bunch of different ways to help us grow the show. The newsletter is huge. We got more numbers that we are the -- newsletter in all of Locked On. Sacramento Kings are nipping on our heels. The Utah Jazz. Listen to me. The Utah Jazz are second right now. We cannot let David Locke beat us. We can't let my boss, David Locke, beat us. So subscribe to the newsletter, the QR code, or the link in the description wherever you're listening, watching this. Guys, thanks so much for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs. We'll be back with more. We'll have the Suns game, post game with me and Slightly this weekend. Guys, thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs. Peace out.
Shout out to Jazz fans.